Welcome back. Creative Rebuild New York is a program aimed towards shining light on local artists. Through the CRNY Artist Employment Program, 300 artists will work in collaboration with community based organizations, and BronxNet is proud to be one of these organizations. The artists joining me to discuss their work today are Rokafella and Kwikstep, president of Full Circle Production Inc. I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Hey,
Thank
how you
you.
doing?
Yeah,
I'm
we
doing good. How are you?
All right.
excited to be back at BronxNet.
That's
We're
right.
part of the family now, so
Right.
Yeah.
feels good.
Now, I want to just start off by talking about hip hop because I know that's like a huge
hmm
part of your craft. Can you just let everybody know, about the moment you began your love for hip hop? And Rockefeller, we'll start with you.
Oh, well, I grew up in East Harlem, so it was all around me as I was growing up. And I was a spectator at first, but I was really absorbing and just taking it all in. I have a family that is Afro-Caribbean, Latino, so I had that in the apartment. But as soon as I would step outside in Harlem, it was this feeling, this vibe, dancing, music,
Mhm.
art. And so in time, I was going to manifest it. So it finally came through, I would say probably like 13, 15, 17 years of age. That's when it started to be my expression.
Oh, and for you?
The rumbling started early, at an early age, before hip hop was called hip hop. Watching Soul Train. Stevie Wonder being played in the basement party, Fania All Stars in the living room, all of the holiday parties, block parties, park jams. And then, like playing basketball in the street, I was watching breaking in the streets as well, and I was like, what is that? And I knew it was something special. Couldn't put my finger on it, but my soul was all in it. Watching the graph on the subways as a child, you watch these subway cars pull in, and these cartoon trains open up, and you walk into it, and you see all of this writing on the trains. You're like, yo, what is this? And as you start to get informed as to what this is, writers, breakers, DJs, MCs, you start to understand that you're a part of a ride that's going to be a lifetime. And that was my journey into hip hop.
That's amazing. And I love how they're both like, very cultural. And it's just something that you grew up with. Like it wasn't forced. Like it was just something that naturally happened. Now, I'm really curious to know, can you just talk about how you got involved with the CRNY program? And we could start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've always been connected with BronxNet. So whenever Full Circle, our dance company, or in my individual personal dance career, something's coming up, I quickly want to see if I can come onto an open or, a show with Axel or whoever and talk about it, promote it, and kind of unpack it for people because dancers don't always get to speak. We speak with our bodies, but, being able to unpack it, describe it, define it, is a beautiful thing because it gives people that inside glance to the world of dance. And so I was always kind of connected to BronxNet. We did a Full Circle show in 1999.
Right.
I don't know what you were doing in 99. We were dancing. And Michael Nabi and, props to you, came through with a camera crew and captured that performance in 1999. And since then, I've been like, connected. So when this opportunity came up for CRNY AEP, they asked me if I had an idea, and I was like, oh, yes, I have an idea. We've had this idea for a while.
Years, yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
we were like, if we can apply. And so I did apply. I put down a proposal of an idea and then had the interview. And lo and behold, I was chosen. And we've been now working on how to create this variety show.
Now, I would actually like to talk a little bit more about it. So can you talk about your project, KWIK2ROK? And we'll start with you.
So KWIK2ROK is literally about people who are quick to rock on the scene, whether it's on the floor, the mic, graph, turntables, but also outside of that. Because, hip hop, it's about, entrepreneurs and people who've made it. When you're in hip hop from a cultural sense, you are a producer from the ground level. If you're a breaker, you got to get your crew together. You got to get a place to practice. You got to choreograph the show. DJs, you got to buy equipment. You got to raise money. MCing, same thing, right? So you got to figure out where your show is going to be. So it's about you doing it yourself. And then that prepares you for everything else in life that you have to produce for. So hip hop really, it has come full circle. Ever since I was a kid, when I saw talk show hosts, I was like, maybe one day we'll be in that position to represent our people. And here we are, we have Kwikstep and Rokafella, and we're always quick to rock the ciphers. And that has made us quick to rock anything that has been put in front of us. And so we figured that would be a really good talk show. And we want to, highlight people who've been quick to rock for years, and especially from the Bronx to across the world. So I always say it, from around the block to around the world.
That's amazing. And would you like to add anything just to that idea of like, the beginnings of KWIK2ROK?
Well, the beginnings of KWIK2ROK, it predates the CRNY. So we've been using that hashtag whenever we come up with a project or a performance. And so KWIK2ROK is really like the blending of these two worlds, male, female energy in hip hop. We've been married now for 20 years because, we're 21. But, and so it's just trying to highlight and feature the synergy, that can happen, the partnership and the loyalty and, struggling and, being that ride or die in hip hop. And so KWIK2ROK predates the show, but we wanted to name it that because we are co-hosting. We are the ones out there trying to invite the people that we see in our network and our community in the underground, invite them in, feature them, ask them, how can people be in touch with you? How can we support? And try to uplift the work that goes on that isn't always in front of the cameras. Because we always get to see like the stars. But there's some like local stars and they're shining just as bright, doing some serious work. And so that's what KWIK2ROK is about. It definitely is uplifting the artists, but locally and culturally strengthening them, reaffirming them. And then these episodes will be sort of like a reference, a historical time capsule. Who was doing what at this time?
That's right.
And been doing it or now up and coming doing it, so that people who are studying hip hop in college or whatever globally, there's an episode you can watch and you can find out the behind the scenes stuff for Melly Mel or Grand Wizard Theodore or Violeta Galagarza.
And
what are they doing?
I want to add that I love that it's kind of like almost educational in a way. And I definitely want to dig a little bit more in just to talking about hip hop as a genre. But for now, I know that you recently, filmed part of your project here at Lehman Studios. Can you just talk about that experience?
Nerve-wracking.
Right
before you film, and then you start to film and you're in it. And before you know it, it's over. It goes by really fast. But to watch the guests light up, knowing that they're being filmed and being, taken care of as far as being interviewed for what they are really about and what they really stand for. And like Rock said, that's going to be forever on film. And people are going to be able to look back and be like, what was happening in 2022 after the pandemic, post-pandemic? People were still rocking. People were still rocking in the Bronx. When the pandemic was happening, people were like, I got to do what I got to do. People were rocking outside. And so for me, it came back full circle. What I saw in the 70s and the 80s was taking place in 2021, 2022, right in the streets. And now we're here in the studio to, inform people we're still here. And I think that is really important. And the people from the Bronx are very prideful in what they have created. And to me, what I tell people all the time, hip hop is to New York what Kung Fu is to China. We're still in the first 50 years. Next year will be 50 years of hip hop. And that's really important. So it's only right that KWIK2ROK are going to be rocking in the 50th year of hip hop. I'm going to have all of these guests that are going to be, exposed to the world and let people know that we out here.
Now, I think, could you just talk about, the website and how people can actually support this project?
Right. Well, the CRNY funding helps only so far, and it also helps BronxNet. But this type of a program is going to incur other expenses. And we want to treat our artists right. We want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. So there are some other things we definitely need some funding. So if you go to the BronxNet website and you look up KWIK2ROK, the link is there. You can make a small donation and help us to help the community to see itself on screen and to look back. There will always be a chance to reflect on who was doing what. So it is educational, but it's also entertaining. And it's just, again, a moment in time that is precious because, life is it goes so fast. Time is flying. So it's good to capture at this moment and be able to reflect on the greatness of the Bronx, of the boroughs, New York City, beyond. We will be interviewing people from the international hip hop global family as well.
Right.
But we definitely want to uplift ours first. So yeah, you can help us out by making a small donation.
Now, I really want to talk about, this mission to keep the legacy of hip hop alive. I've done a few stories on it myself and how hip hop has globally changed or in the mainstream has changed a lot. Can you just explain why it's so important for both of you to kind of keep that core, Bronx roots hip hop alive?
Well, it's Bronx roots, it's Brooklyn roots. It's
Okay.
it's how we fell in love. It's because of hip hop that I found the woman of my life.
And vice
know?
versa.
And hip hop was my first love, but this is the love that has kept me afloat. And she's literally my rock. You know what I mean? When things are rough, hang on to that rock. You know what I mean? And with like fire and water, and hip hop teaches you how to mix and remix.
Right.
And that's, I've learned a lot through being married and being in hip hop, believe it or not, because hip hop culture is different from hip pop culture. That's for consumption, but it ends up consuming you as a person. Culturally, you can always go back to the source and replenish. It's like being a Marvel superhero. It's like, oh, I got beat up by life. I got to go back into the chamber. Hip hop, I'm back. And I think it's important that people realize that's what hip hop is about. It's about being replenished. It's about hip. It's about knowing. Hop is a movement, like Harris once said. And it changes at the speed of need. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's faster than the speed of light. Within a millisecond, you're like, oh, I got to do this. And, when you're in the streets with hip hop, it teaches you how to bob and weave. And, you get knocked down, you have to get back up. And we've been there for each other when we got knocked down. And this is the representation of what hip hop and love really is. Not what you see on TV, but what you feel and witness in real life. And we've been there for each other, and that's allowed us to be there for other people. And when we're down, the community is there for us. To me, that's what hip hop is.
Yeah, and globally, we know that the community that picks up hip hop is the community that's struggling. It's the community that's marginalized. So
Right.
they have become inspired by what happened here. That, Blacks and Latinos, we were going through something, we came together and look what we created. And so our slang, our fashion, our business savviness, our intellect, our spirituality, the creativity, all around the world, they're all like following our lead. And so we have to lead with love and lead, correctly and responsibly. So because Kwikstep and I were around when breaking in particular went through a small little like underground dark period, no one was doing it because it wasn't like commercially viable anymore, quote unquote. We know that we have to preserve it. We cannot just let it just fizzle out. It's a massive vocabulary within hip hop, and we can't just let it be used and exploited. It is deep, and it has a lineage and a legacy that goes back to capoeira, Lindy hop, and tap, salsa, like you said, kung fu. There are all these ingredients that make hip hop what it is, and we want to make sure that people remember.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both so much, just for coming here and sharing this story. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I just want to let everybody know, don't forget that if you would like to support the KWIK2ROK project, please go to BronxNet.org/donate/CRNY-artists. Don't go away. We have more open right after this.